So I nearly pulled out of this talk, but then I realized this is probably the last time I will be expected to share something, so I should do it. So I chose to speak on Santa Lakshanas from Tulsi Ramayana. Then because it touched me, and when I saw it was like 2.5 pages in that text, so there's no way we are going to chant or look at the translation, etc. So we know the episode. Sage Narada asks Lord Rama at the end of Aranyakanda, please describe to me the essential character of saints. And the Lord obliges. He gives a beautiful discourse, an elaborate discourse, giving enumerating the various attributes of saints, and almost gushing and giving glowing tributes to the devotees, waxing eloquent. Then he caps off the talk after all this, saying that neither 100 Adisheshas nor the goddess of speech herself can exhaustively describe the inner beauty and the glory of saints. So now a fool like me, and then with some 7 minutes to go, I'll still try to do some justice. Besides, this is anyway, it's a shortened version. I want to squeeze in a song at the end. We have seen Bhakta Lakshanas, Yogarudha Lakshanas, Sthita Prajna Lakshanas in different texts. So the idea is to not go through another list. Let's get down to some serious vichara. What is it that makes a saint? So if you see what Bhagavan is trying to convey here, it's obviously he is trying to emphasize the culture of the heart, the tenderness of emotion. That is what he wants to talk about. So let's try to explore this largely misunderstood and unknown dimension called devotionality. See, only that which is logical can be put into words, specifically to prose, because if it becomes, that which is illogical tends to go into poetry mode. And the irony is, I really don't want to malign devotion by pulling it down to any kind of logic, because devotion is not at all a logical process or logical dimension. See, nice logic and pretty emotions won't do it. You need an extremist kind of emotion to be a devotee. A lover who is not an extremist is not at all a lover. Someone who wants to know love in its utmost intensity, it has to be an extremist kind of emotion. A moderate person cannot know love. A lukewarm person cannot be a lover. Only someone who is boiling with that passion beyond all reason, such a person can be a true lover. If you want to use your emotion as a vehicle to reach your ultimate nature, then it has to be an extremist kind of emotion. An ordinary emotion cannot get people there. So that's thinking people with agendas for their lives, they cannot know love, because the intense devotion of a bhakta, it's like a fire that just burns up. It is not going to deliver any benefits, but it is in burning up the limited that the possibility of the unlimited enters our lives. See, true love seeks no reward. Even liberation feels paltry to a bhakta. So the one who is truly in love cannot ask for anything, mukti or anything, because that would be so degenerate of me, he would think. Only the intellect can calculate and make such deals. The heart of the devotee does not calculate. It just knows one thing, to give itself up and expect nothing in return. This is the awe-inspiring example that has been set in every age by every mystic in any culture. Just think for a moment. What is rational about praying for people who are sadistically torturing you to death? So sitting at the rational human intellect level, you cannot hope to ever fathom what is saintliness or what is divinity. The love for God is something way beyond what the world appreciates as intelligence. The devotee is not thinking about living well. He does not want life to go his way. All he cares about, all he wants is to merge in his object of devotion. Let's say Shiva devotee. All he wants is to die into Shiva. He doesn't, if you are like this, then devotion is the quickest path to realization. It always was and it always will be. But with the way people are today and with modern education and the way we are, and with the intellect brought forth to such a level of importance, devotion is not really a possibility. Unless you come to a certain level of experience within yourself, where, what you know, what you think is not important anymore. And and your intellect, you're overwhelmed by somebody or something so much, totally, that, your intellect sinks into the background automatically. Then you naturally progress into a devotee. Until then, one is just a student or a disciple. See, we know even somebody so Viveki as Swami Vivekananda, how long he took to accept Swami Paramahamsa, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa as his guru. See, the very moment his eyes met him, he knew this is the most pure, this is the most serene being he's ever going to see. But he kept rationalizing like the others, this is a madman, he's always lost and, impractical. But his heart kept uncontrollably kept getting drawn to the master because of the deep peace and love that radiated from him. Finally, his questioning mind surrendered. His heart was long gone, waiting for his intellect to arrive at the master's feet. He was looking for a man who had seen God. And in time, he slowly realized he was not just with a man who had seen God, but was God himself. See, generally people are always putting down emotion as something lesser than the intellect. This is a very, very wrong thing we are doing. If your inside is a really filthy place, yes, this may be true. And if by emotion you have known only the 6 lower passions, then the whole scriptures, all Mahatmas are unanimous in they're screaming out, this is something to be discarded. But in a pure heart, the pure heart knows a emotion which is of a much higher nature, something that can be the ultimate, most powerful fuel to lift oneself to the beyond. Emotion can be at a higher level, at a higher intensity than the intellect in many ways. Intellect has a certain coolness, a certain penetration. But emotion can just embrace everything. Intellect is all about logic. You can slice and dice, separate. This is you, this is me. Only intellect can know pieces of life. Only emotion can know the wholeness of life. To an intellectual person, no doubt the devotee looks like a fool. There are 2 stages when the devotee looks like a fool to all people who know just food and sleep. One is the viraha stage, where they are pining like a fish out of water, and they have like Parvati Devi or like Meera, not even caring for their health and all that. So where it's a stage in Bhakti Shastra that where the devotee, other than the Lord, everything feels insipid and like positively obnoxious almost. So then obviously they look irrational, and then of course once they are one with their Lord, obviously they look irrational because they are unmatavat. So the devotee may look like a fool, but what the devotee knows in terms of life's experience and in terms of the perception of life in its totality, the intellectual person can never touch. The knowledge cannot come anywhere near its periphery. Because, I wanted to say this because generally people are like, devotees, they are really sweet people, no doubt, but they don't know the ultimate. Hey Baba. They are the ultimate. They are drowned in Brahman, if you want to make this thing, dripping every pore of their being and overflowing with Brahman. We should worship them if we have realized that we cannot emulate them. This is something I wanted to share instead of making the talk long. Something beautiful. A typical work of the great Meera. Her intense love, the throbbing of her heart, longing for the Supreme is palpable in these lines. So what I'll do, I'll just read the meaning, the translation in English first, and then I will sing the song. So she says, friend, I have lost my sleep. The whole night I have passed in waiting for the beloved. My comrades offered me their counsel, but to none did my heart pay any heed. Without a sight of thee, my heart is restless, so stubborn is my heart. My body is emaciated, I am without peace, and the name of the dear one is on my lips. The pain of separation burns my heart, yet he cares not for it. Like the Chataka crying out for the clouds, like the fish pining for the water, Meera lies restless in her separation from her beloved. So lost to herself is she, so lost to herself is she. पीव को पंथ निहारत सिगरी रैन बिहानी हो सखी मेरी नींद नसानी हो ओ पीव को पंथ निहारत सिगरी रैन बिहानी हो सखी मेरी नींद नसानी हो सखियन मिल कर सीख दई मन एक ना मानी हो सखियन मिल कर सीख दई मन एक ना मानी हो बिन देखा कल नाही पड़त जिय ऐसी ठानी हो अंग अंग व्याकुल भई मुख पिय पिय बानी हो सखी मेरी नींद नसानी हो ओ पीव को पंथ निहारत सिगरी रैन बिहानी हो सखी मेरी नींद नसानी हो अंतर बेदन बेरह की कोई पीर ना जानी हो अंतर बेदन बेरह की कोई पीर ना जानी हो जो चातक घन को रटे मछली जिमी पानी हो मीरा व्याकुल बिरहणी सुध बुध बिसरानी हो सखी मेरी नींद नसानी हो ओ पीव को पंथ निहारत सिगरी रैन बिहानी हो सखी मेरी नींद नसानी